been an election. How y'all doing? Good morning. Good morning, everyone. You done? Yes. Good morning, everyone. 2 years ago, after winning back the House majority, we set out to do something bold. Build an enduring Democratic majority in Virginia. Not a one-cycle win, not a lucky year, a governing coalition built to last, a mandate. And last night, we delivered. House Democrats picked up at least 13 seats. Our majority now stands at a historic, unbelievable 64 seats. Trump won last year with about 50% of the vote, maybe a little less, and he claimed that was a mandate. This is what a mandate looks like. We even ran ahead of the top of the ticket in a number of seats, demonstrating the strength of our campaigns. This is the largest Democratic majority we've won in more than 3 decades, 1987. Half my caucus wasn't born then. This is the first time in a half century that Democrats expanded our majority. First time we've won back-to-back majorities in 3 decades. We won 5 Trump districts, and we won all 8 seats that Kamala Harris won last year. We ran candidates in all 100 districts and competed everywhere, rural, urban, suburban, and we won everywhere. And this slate of candidates is exciting. We recruited diverse candidates who are deeply rooted in their communities. Teachers, veterans, caregivers, small business owners, accountants, doctors, social workers, people from the community. We rejected the outdated assumptions about who can win a frontline battleground district and shattered old, outdated stereotypes. And we ran minorities and women in a majority of our frontline battleground districts. But we didn't just run against something, we ran for something. We ran to build a winning coalition focused on delivering bold policy for Virginians, strengthening schools, creating jobs, expanding access to health care, lowering costs, and putting money back in people's pockets. And we made protecting fundamental rights central to our work, from reproductive freedom to marriage equality to the right to vote to protecting democracy itself. And we did not shy away from telling the truth. Virginia Republicans were too terrified to stand up to Donald Trump. We told that story over and over and over again. And voters heard us. Voters saw them running away, cowering in the face of Donald Trump's destruction of Virginia's jobs. And because of that, Virginia sent a message to the entire nation, to the entire world. House Democrats and Abigail Spanberger have shown the country a roadmap to victory. I'm so proud of this work, and I'm so grateful. I want to thank all of our partners, our volunteers, our organizers, our great candidates, our amazing staff, our entire House Democratic caucus that stuck together, stayed disciplined, stayed focused, and together we sent a message to the voters of Virginia. And the voters of Virginia, I want to thank them because they awarded us, they rewarded us, and they placed their confidence in us, and we're going to deliver for them. Together, we built what will be a historic, enduring majority, the largest Democratic majority in 3 decades. And I hate to tell y'all, we just getting started. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. And this is what happens when the Army and Navy get together. But beat Navy, Mr. Speaker.
The Army knows this place, buddy.
That's right, that's right. I'm so humbled to have served as campaigns chair for the House Democratic Caucus. 2 years ago, the Speaker and our caucus understood, regardless of who won the presidency, regardless of who our statewide nominees were, we needed to build the biggest battlefield in modern memory if we're going to preserve and grow our majority in the House. Here's how we did it. We approached this like a military campaign. We recruited candidates we knew would work hard to win their seats. and we made sure they had the training to meet the challenge. We raised a dragon's hoard of resources to win, and we deployed it in races on radio, on the air, online, and on the doors. And here's what happened. Our caucus alone raised over $30 million, nearly doubling what we did 2 years ago, and nearly tripling what was raised in 2021. We outspent Republicans by 2 to 1 on television and online, meaning that voters saw more of our message more often in the final weeks of the campaign. In fact, in the final weeks of the campaign, the Democratic advantage on TV was so great that we outpointed Republicans by 10,000 points in the final week, including in the pricey DC media market. We ran the biggest battleground campaign in modern history, the biggest field campaign in modern history, and each of our candidates knocked at least 5,000 doors, having conversations with their neighbors that helped us secure this historic majority. And the result? The last time Democrats had this big a majority, it was before Delegate Bobby Orrock, who was defeated last night, was elected in 1989. In several races, we even ran ahead of the top of the ticket. And our battlefield candidates overperformed Kamala Harris's performance dramatically in every single district. Last night, we showed that Americans will hold cowards accountable who won't stand up to Donald Trump's attacks on our livelihoods and values. This is how we won in 2025. It's how Democrats win in 2026 and beyond. Thank you.
Question time. Let's go. Greg.
Mr. Speaker, can you give us some specifics of what you hope to do with your consolidated power now? What are your priorities?
I mean, we're going to listen to the voters. They already told us what the priorities should be. They said they want us to work hard to lower the cost of housing, lower the cost of health care. They want their schools to be safe. They want us to make sure that we continue to protect public safety. You know, the Republicans litigated a lot of these issues, and the voters didn't believe them, didn't trust them. And the biggest thing that we did with these new members that are coming in is these were people from the community. Like I said, they were veterans, they were teachers, they were social workers. They were trusted by their communities. We have a pediatrician coming in, doctor will be in the house. And so we have folks that cross the gamut and across the spectrum, and we have literally a Democratic coalition that I think that will continue to be attractive to independents and some Republicans. We couldn't have got a majority this big if Republicans didn't vote for Democrats last night. Republicans came over to our point of view last night, and they rejected the chaos and confusion, not only coming from the White House, but what's coming from the Virginia GOP, where they will not stand up to Donald Trump.
Olivia.
You talked about this being a roadmap for other states next year. I'm wondering about how Virginia may have a unique circumstances with the federal layoffs uniquely impacting our state, and what you have to say about that impacting this race, and if the circumstances will be the same in other states as time goes on.
I mean, I think history tells us that when Virginia does what we did tonight, it doesn't look good for 26 for Republicans. And I think, these circumstances around inflation going up. Remember, Donald Trump said on day one that he would lower the price of things. He would lower the price of goods. He would lower inflation. Everything has gone up. Housing, childcare, groceries, beef. He has these dumb tariffs, what he calls low IQ tariffs, that he has all over the place that are hurting people. And I think that pain, we saw the canary in the coal mine before this happened. We saw it in races in Iowa and Florida, special elections. We saw it in other places already. And we knew that if we continued to communicate what we thought we would communicate, nobody thought we'd get 64 damn seats, but, I had 55 as my floor. But I think this message will travel unless the Republicans course correct. Like, it's really not good to be running the MAGA playbook when MAGA ain't on the ballot. You on your own. And what they learned last night is Trump will not come to their rescue. He watched them out there just flailing about and didn't come through. He had a teleconference call rally. He didn't even mention Winsome Sears' name. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up. And so I think he abandoned them, just like he's abandoned American values by tearing down the White House and going down doing the Gilded Age at Mar-a-Lago. And I think people don't like it. I think people are angry, and I think you're going to continue to see that be expressed.
Julie?
And you want to jump in anytime.
You talk about this being a mandate, but some analysts are already questioning whether that's kind of overstating it, given the fact that we had a full 37% of Virginians who said in our NBC exit polls that this was really about opposing Donald Trump. So how do you weigh those two things? That this really was more about Donald Trump as opposed to an endorsement of your agenda?
So first thing I'm gonna say is those exit polls show same-day voters. We had already had almost 2 million people that had already voted. So you got the more GOP-leaning exit polls on that day. That's number one. So I think that the mandate we have is a real mandate, and that mandate started on September 19th when early voting started. And you didn't capture that in your exit polls. We knew it was happening. We could see the energy, and everybody, we couldn't even believe it, because we were scoring 20 points up. And what did Abigail Spanberger win by? 15? And we got 6. Who in here, raise your hand if you thought we'd get 64 seats? Exactly. Nobody. So we saw it. We saw this coming. We saw a little wave, but we didn't see this doggone tsunami. And so I think this tsunami is going to continue to happen until Republicans join us in this whole governance thing. Like until Republicans decide to stand up to Donald Trump and to MAGA extremism, this will continue to happen. I'm hoping that they get the message, because we really do need healthy two-party system. But if they don't, this is the message. They can expect this to happen to them again and again and again. They should have seen it coming. We did. They lost Iowa. They lost special elections in Florida. We overperformed in every single election since he began this destruction. We have overperformed. Find one when we didn't. And so now, this is the beginning of what I believe is the tipping point. And Republicans have an opportunity, I think, to join us in governing, to be responsible. I said, it ain't good to be MAGA when MAGA ain't on the ballot. Folks want you to be responsible. And I think the Republicans have an opportunity to do that.
And Julie, I'll just add real quick. If you want to look around Virginia, look at the Lily Franklin race.
Wow.
Right? This was a Trump district. Look at the Dr. Mark Downey race. Like, these are districts that aren't just about the government shutdown. They aren't just about what's happening in Washington. These are districts that have embraced a positive vision of how we focus on kitchen table issues, from what it costs to go to the grocery store to making sure our kids have an excellent education. And they voted resoundingly for candidates who came from those communities, reflected their values, and not only presented a stark contrast to Donald Trump, but stood for the things that their community is asking for.
And if you think about this, like in Darius Clark, part of rural Suffolk, Isle of Wight, he was a battleground race in 2023. We were worried. We were biting our fingernails. That was a close race. Michael Fagan's close race. Josh Thomas, Josh Coe, close. All of them won by 10 plus points. People are feeling the pain that Donald Trump is causing, and they are coming out to have their voices heard. And they believe that we really want to address affordability. They trust the candidates to really be focused on their issues and not those cultural issues that they like to talk about all the time, the pee and poop caucus. They talk, where these kids peeing, where they pooping, I don't know. That's all they talk about. They do a news story on it every day. And people, grown-ups, are saying, how do I make sure that my kids have the education they deserve? How do I buy school clothes? How do I make sure that they get the education they deserve? How do I make sure I pay my mortgage? And we got people out here talking about crazy stuff every single day. That's all they ran on. They didn't talk about real issues that people were feeling. And I think that's what you see. And you're going to continue to see that until they grow up and move back to the middle. They're going to be continue to feel these losses.
Tyler.
If you look at some of the polling, the exit polling, you mentioned the Lily Franklin race, you mentioned the Bobby Barack race. Democrats seem to do better in rural areas last night, where Democrats typically struggle. Why is that?
I think, first of all, rural areas are feeling the impact on the economy of what this administration is doing. And we saw early, when we laid out the plan 2 years ago about where we were going to go, we said we are going to challenge Republicans in every potentially winnable district. We had already we were within a hair's breadth of winning that race 2 years ago. And so we were seeing these shifts in rural areas. The speaker put together a rural health care committee that traveled around the state. And so we reject the idea that Democrats can't win in non-traditionally Democratic areas. We think it is about making sure that you are addressing the concerns, you are listening, and I think the rural visits that we did, I think the government shutdown committee that the speaker put together, I think all of those told a story about responsible governance and painted a stark contrast to the destruction of the East Wing. I mean, that's what we're looking at.
And I want to add to that. Before I even was sworn in as speaker, the first thing that I did was went to Southwest Virginia. I went out there with a Republican, with Senator Travis Hackworth, my wife and I. We stayed at his home. I got to go out and see what the needs were. It was bigger than politics. You know, I'm from Texas. I'm an ag major from Texas A&M, an ag school. All right, I'm an ag major. So I'm from the city, but I speak country. I'm bilingual. I speak city and country. And so I was able to go out there and figure out what their needs were. They trusted me that I would deliver. And so we created the Select Committee on Rural Health Care, and we delivered. We delivered resources, we delivered legislation that helped solve problems. We expanded telehealth. We made it easier for people to get access to dental care, to maternal health care. When you do that and address it, people, they're like, I don't know, I like Trump, but those guys, they're at least talking to me. And we talk to people, and we're gonna continue to do that. And those Republicans in rural communities, they shouldn't feel safe. They're shutting down Trump, shutting down rural hospitals. People are feeling the pinch out there. Farmers, when a soybean farmer calls me, Don Scott from Portsmouth, and says, I got a problem, I need some help with the USDA because I have to put my soybeans in storage. They don't last that long because USAID, who I used to sell them to, I can't sell them now. There's something going on in this country, and y'all missing it. If you're not paying attention, rural communities are feeling the pain too, and they're gonna start holding somebody accountable. They like Trump, they might not get rid of him, but they're gonna get rid of all these other jokers, and that's what they did, that's what they began to show us last night.
All right, thank you guys, thank you so much.
Hold on, I want a question from Nick Minot, because he's gonna ask a bathroom question. Go ahead, what about these kids using the bathroom?
I actually don't have a question on that.
Can you talk about the Northern Virginia seats that you flipped? You have the Western Loudoun Frontier County seat where Delegate Higgins serves right now, Ian Lovejoy's seat in Prince William County. What won the day there in your view?
Yeah, I think very clearly you had candidates, Republican candidates, who were participant or at least cheering on the January 6th insurrection. I think as voters understood what happened and the role that their elected representatives played and saw that in conjunction with what's happening in Washington right this second, these districts filled with the folks who make the federal government work said, we don't want any more of that. And it is their pocketbook, it is their economy, it is their jobs that have been under assault by this White House. And I think they saw folks like John McAuliffe, who had served in the Department of Agriculture. I think they saw folks like Stacey Carroll, who helped make sure that we tick and tie the numbers in the federal government. I think they looked at that, saw that, and said, that's what we want, not the other piece.
I'm gonna take two more questions. I'm sorry, Johnny. Two more questions.
Given that,
Because I let Nick McNaught, I want to hear the bathroom question, and he let me down.
Do you want one?
No, I'm joking.
Given that you won more than you thought you were going to, do you feel compelled to pursue a more ambitious agenda than you were originally going to?
Listen, when we began this journey in 22, I was minority leader. Dan and I, he's an Army guy, I'm Navy guy. We said we're gonna focus and be disciplined. We're gonna be focused and we're gonna be disciplined. And we remain disciplined. The word of the day now is restraint. We can't overreach. We have to be restrained. We have to be wise with the gift that the voters have given us to govern. We have to be wise in how we move forward. So it's going to be important for us to have a coalition that's restrained, that's smart, that's disciplined, and focus on what voters want us to do. They told us what they want. All we have to do is listen. They're feeling the pain in the pocketbook. We got to stay focused on kitchen table issues, but they also are afraid that our democracy is eroding and being attacked, and they want us to stand up. And that's what we're going to do.
Okay, we got the last one right here.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now that you have this expanded majority, can you outline your next steps with respect to redistricting?
Redistricting, you said, say that again? No,
Now
I'm
that
joking.
you have this expanded majority.
I heard you. Like I said before, I think we have a mandate. That issue has been litigated. I think the governor did press conferences on it and press releases, and people ran ads against it and said we were doing this and doing that. They sued us a couple of times. They 0-2. I think the voters have said they want us to go forward, but at the end of the day, whatever we do, the process, we have to pass another amendment next session. We have to pass it again, and then it will go to the voters if we were able to get it. And then after that, maps and drawn or whatever. So ultimately, the voters of Virginia will have the final say. And as you can see from last night, we happen to trust our voters. We trust our, but we like our voters. And so we think that they'll make the right choice. And if whatever decision they make, we're going to abide by it, just as we did last night. Thank you for that question. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Mr.
Congrats.
Thank you.